Hi guys, my name is Spencer Lazara. Obviously, this channel only has a few videos, and some of you probably know me, some of you don't. I own MMA interviews, did fight interviews for years and years, moved to Las Vegas, kind of put that on the back burner as I started working in nightlife and making some money. Um, for those that don't know, nightlife here in Las Vegas is about, you know, restaurants and dining, which nightclubs are considered, and pool parties are a third of the entire revenue of this city. Um, so they're right up there with gaming. And over the years, it's changed a lot, but I've managed to make a nice little business for myself. I remember that first summer I started working, I saved about, uh, $20,000 or something. Like, it was crazy how much I saved in just a summer. And I was like, oh man, I'm all in, right? So fast forward a few years now, I've saved, uh, probably around $100,000 with different ways of getting my money, let's say. So now I got $100,000, and I tell my dad, rest in peace now, I want to buy a house. So I go ahead and I buy my house. I put 10% down, 10% down, 30 grand, a little over 30 grand, and bought my first house. So thankful for my dad for doing that. And literally that about a month later after closing only, my dad had a bad heart, fell, and passed away. A few months later, I was going back and forth to Cali for months. Seeing him I'd come home and work, and then I'd go out there for the weekdays, and I'd spend the time with him, and just couldn't overcome having fallen and broken his leg, and he passed away. And obviously a tough time, but he had helped me one last time in terms of co-signing to get my house, because my income level still was not that high. I was just able to save a lot of money. My income was not great per se when everything was said and done on paper. Um, so I have the house now, and I'm starting to do that, and slowly I pay that off. And we'll talk more about the specifics of that, but I was able to continue and pay a little extra on my mortgage. I end up getting married and meeting my wife soon. I already knew her kind of, but I didn't date her until a little bit later. And now we have an 8-month-old son, Luca. He's amazing. And was lucky enough where I grew up, though, to meet a lot of people who were affluent and well off in my suburb of Glendale, California, where I grew up, born and raised. And one of my good buddies that I've known since I was a kid, Lawrence, he told me, man, you should start investing. You got some money, right? Like, you should start investing in some stock. And I said, okay. And literally, I start with $5,000 I put in. At this point, of course, I've inherited some money from my father. So I have that to go with. Also, now I've stacked back up to 100K, let's say. After buying my house, I've stacked back now at this point to that. So this is about 3 years ago. Put my first $5,000 into a TD Ameritrade account and buy a stock that he told me I should buy called HEMA Care Corporation. HEMA was the stock symbol. And it goes down, and I'm a little bit, I buy in like 265, I think it was. And it was down to 225, maybe 215 at the lowest. And I'm already like, man, what's going on? I lost my money, right? And I'm down. And he's like, just wait. And should have bought more then, because soon it was back up and over $3, right? And I'm like, oh, cool. All right. And I started getting brave and learning more about the company, of course, because it's always important to look at financials, do your due diligence, and all that stuff. Well, we had a winner in this company. So I kept buying more and more. I put a little bit of money into 2 other stocks that he told me about. One was a singing machine and company, and one was a CBD, I don't know, company that was a failure. So those two, the Singing Machine, whatever, kind of maybe lost barely or broke even. But the other one, UBQU, is the stock code. Just company was a failure. So that pretty much went down to nothing. I think I lost about 10 grand. Well, as I put money in, I kept buying HEMA though. So as HEMA kept going, I kept pounding the one that worked because these are all penny stocks. So I kept pounding the one that we believed in and watched this thing just go and go and go over the last 2.5, 3 years. And late 2019, HEMA sold the company. And we were ready to ride this thing. Lawrence is like, this thing's going to be $50 a share. Now it's at, gosh, I don't know what it was at. It kept going up close to $20 probably when the sale happened. I'd have to look at the history. But once the sale happened, our shares got paid out $25.40. My average share price was about $6. And most of it, of course, at that time is long term. There was a small chunk, I think, that I have short term to pay this next year of 2020. But tax stuff, we're going to get into a lot of that in a later video. The bottom line is this stock paid off and paid me out prior to COVID, right? So had the company not sold and COVID hit, I would have got wrecked. My money would have gone down dramatically with the crash in March, and I wouldn't have had the same gains. I still would have had gains. I mean, we're talking 4x on my overall investment here. But it would have gone down, maybe 50%. Maybe I'm only down to 2x now in terms of my gains, had this not paid me out prior to COVID. So January, boom, I get my payment, and I'm stoked, and I'm like, cool, what's next though, right? You go from not investing at all to having a huge winning thing. You pressed on it like probably you shouldn't have, right? Because everybody wants to talk about diversifying. And it pays off. So now I'm here and I've got a whole lot more money than I started with, right? I'm now it's like, all right, now I can be smart. So luckily prior in 2019, my other stocks, just knowing that the market was overvalued, I took a lot of that stuff that I wasn't completely invested in HEMA. I had a lot of stuff in funds and different stuff being managed by an investment broker, the same people my dad had some of his with. So that's in funds. I said, pull it back, make it nice and safe, kind of the end of 2019, which, I lost money doing it early, but come March, it was a good thing. I was invested in some good bonds and gold funds and stuff like that, which went up when the pandemic hit in March. So that's actually done okay for me even there. We're not talking some 4x gains. We're talking 10%, 15%, 20% on these funds, probably, 15% overall. I don't know. I got to look. But then I was ready to make another move with some of my HEMA gains now, right? So I'm going, okay, let's go put a bunch of stuff still in safe and let's make another play. Good friend of mine, Lorenz Larkin, famous UFC fighter, Strikeforce now. He's with Strikeforce. He's on a nice win streak. Great guy, and we become really close over the years. I got him into HEMA. He made a killing on HEMA, just like a few of my other friends, including my wife. And he said, man, this Tesla is looking good. And I had already been looking at Tesla, but I hadn't pulled the trigger. And a lot of that is just because I was in HEMA and I was on HEMA, big time. So I was already like, if I was going to put another 20K into something, I was going to throw it into HEMA, So, but now that ship sailed. So I did buy some of the company that purchased HEMA, Charles River Laboratories. This CRL is the stock symbol. I figure HEMA was so profitable. If they're taking that under their wing, they're a $5 billion company. HEMA, they bought for, I think, $350 million. And to me, I'm thinking, okay, within 2 years, HEMA's, that portion, just HEMA alone, is going to at least double. It'd probably be worth another billion. So they probably made 2x on their investment by buying HEMA at this point, right? So the company is going to go from 5 billion to 6 billion or 6.5 billion. And I'm thinking, all right, cool. This company is on the up and ups too. Well, the pandemic hit. Luckily, I didn't put that much into CRL, right? And I did, though, once the pandemic hit in March, because I bought CRL right after, pretty much before the pandemic. So that was my one little error, you could say, in how this all worked out to my benefit still, right? Because I bought some CRL. Then March, the pandemic hits. This Tesla went all the way down to, I want to say, like $350. This is pre-split, $350 a share. And I bought in my first shares back up, though, at 550 because it started rising. And I was like, man, I better get in this, So I bought my first shares at $550 pre-split. That would be about $27.50 now. Sorry. It would be 1/5 of that, 135, something like that, right? Back then, to what the stock price is now post split. So I keep buying the same as HEMA, man. I'm watching it go up. And I went heavy on it before it got to 1,000, and which 200 post split. So now I'm feeling good about this thing, and I'm telling people, my brother, my friends, my wife is in on it. Lorenz obviously got some bunch of people, but we're watching this thing just go crazy, and kept buying, and haven't sold, obviously. And now the stock is at, let's see what it is today, close to 600. It almost hit $600 today post split. So that would be $3,000. My first shares I'm 5x on, about almost 5x on, which is just incredible, over 4x. And it's at 585 right now. So just incredible little journey I've had in the stock market in about 3 years. Now it's led me to a bunch of tax research and trying to find out how to save and what the best things are. Luckily, I had good people explaining to me early on about, you don't just sell and you want to keep these shares for a year because you only pay capital gains. But again, I'm going to do in-depth tax videos in the future to help people. But what I can say out of all this is, you buy a house and you save money. You save money first off. Then you want to buy a property. This should be your goal. Then you keep saving more money. You pay down your house to where you're not paying a mortgage insurance, let's say, hopefully 20% down if you can. If you can get that off, you're going to be saving a lot of money every single month. That's money you can now start really saving and putting back into investments. And of course, someone like me, I have to think about my retirement, and that's going to be more into this tax videos that I'm going to do. We're going to talk a lot about that stuff and what I'm probably going to be doing as far as that stuff goes. But yeah, I mean, now I'm sitting here, literally tripled my net worth in about 3 years' time. And I did all that by making the right moves, being fortunate, and just, you gotta foresee these things too. But I'm not sure what my ending point was, but bottom line, it's crazy how I did that with a lot of my money still not even invested aggressively. I still tripled my entire net worth. And I never want to sit here and tell everybody to kind of like go hard on one thing. But if you are a small time investor and you do want to just invest, let's say 5 grand or 10 grand, and you've got some money sitting in a savings account or a bank account that like you really don't need on a month to month basis, like your income's covering you, you've got a little slush fund for a backup, and you want to just, you know, invest that money because it's just sitting in a bank making you nothing. And there's a lot better ways you can invest that money. And if you're young and you're not somewhat aggressively saving and then making moves, you're messing up and you're never going to get ahead. You're always going to be stuck in a rat race. You've got to get your monthly stuff, expenses down. One of the biggest things is people make a list of your monthly expenses, cut some of those out. You see that, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I just saved so much money. And then you've got all that money at the end of the year, let's say a couple grand saved, that you can now invest. So we'll talk more about a lot of investment advice and tax stuff and retirement and all that good stuff as we go along here on this channel. But I just want to let you know first my story, kind of how I got involved in this. And now I'm always researching, I'm always looking, I'm always watching videos, looking at some financials of these companies and making sure that my investment is going good. It's kind of crazy that the market's so high while we're dealing with this global pandemic, but I'm not complaining. So just if you take anything away from this video, save your money, and then be ready to make moves with it. Because scared money don't make money, and you got to have money to make money. That's how the system is set up in this capitalistic society. So you want to get ahead, that's how you do it. Thanks for watching. I'm Spencer Lazara. Stay tuned for more videos. Please hit the subscribe button, like the video, share it if you want. Appreciate it. Take care. Happy holidays.